Hi guys, this is Dan at Trojan Art Painting. This video I'm going to talk to you about conventions in general, a little bit of my experience going to conventions, and specifically about ReaperCon, the convention that Reaper Miniatures holds every year. I've gone to dozens of conventions over the last 20 or so years. I've been to a bunch of little local conventions in the different places I've lived. I've been to NashCon in Nashville. I've been to conventions twice. The one in Tampa, right there by Busch Gardens, in the Best Western. They used to hold it. I don't know if they still do, but Oklahoma City, Dallas and Fort Worth, Houston, Los Angeles. Been up to HistoricCon in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Chicago, all over the place. So I have experience going to conventions, and the main reason I do is because painting miniatures, which I also started a little over 20 years ago, now 21 years ago, now that it's 2013, you really didn't sell miniatures on the internet. You had to advertise in the magazines like the Courier. Also did some work for different manufacturers that, I'd paint miniatures and they'd use they'd photograph the miniatures and use them in their advertisements in various magazines, like the War Gamer or Practical War Gamer or War Games Illustrated. I had my figures made it into several articles in War Games Illustrated and into numerous advertisements, and on the back inside cover, the back cover, but I never made the front cover. So, and by now I don't know if I ever will or not, but at least I made it into the magazine a few times. And anything I talk about myself, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling the story of my experience. So please don't think that I'm trying to puff myself up at all by saying any of that my figures were in a magazine or any other thing I said about my painting. Because I'm certainly not. I'm just trying to tell you the story. So anyway, back then you went to conventions to sell your miniatures and get your name out there and to get the commissions. I remember like the first conventions I went to two in Los Angeles. The first couple I went to back in September 1993, so almost 20 years ago. At the time, I was still in the Navy, stationed down in San Diego, and I was injured, and I was on limited duty. What they do if you're injured in the service, they give you 6 months limited duty, where you go to a shore facility. In the case of the Navy, you go to a shore facility like a training school or a command, and you just kind of, report in and do, busy work basically, and you're just kind of a warm body floating around. But I was a senior enlisted guy, a senior chief petty officer, and I wouldn't. If I was injured, I was injured. If I was going to work, I was going to work. There really wasn't no middle ground for me. And I'd been injured over in the Gulf, and I had just not healed, and I just flat couldn't function. I couldn't without assistance. I couldn't drive. Couldn't drive, couldn't do much of anything. Certainly not for. I could sit up to paint, but I couldn't move around. And I remember they would tell me, you got to, I was assigned my second limited duty. What they do, they give you limited duty twice, and if you're still not recovered, they discharge you for medical disability. Anyway, on my second limited duty, man, I was getting all kind of treatments at Balboa Hospital, going to doctors all the time and stuff. But I wasn't going to go into work because if I could work, I could work. Like I said, if I couldn't, I couldn't. So they'd call and say you need to come in. I'd say, well, if you want me to come in, you need to send an ambulance out here to get me, or something, And so there was months at a time when I think the last 6 months that I was assigned to the submarine training facility at the submarine base Point Loma, San Diego. I think I went in to report. I think I went in once when I went in to report and they showed me around, and then the next time I went in was when I went in to check out to leave, 6 months later. You know. But anyway, I'll tell you that story just to show you that I had plenty of time to paint, and I did. I painted a lot, and that's when I started realizing, hey, I can paint good enough, I guess, where people like it, and they'll actually you know, commissioned me to paint figures and things. Anyway, the first show I went to was see, I got some ribbons here from it. It was called the first convention I went to was called StrategicCon Gateway 1990. StrategicCons, I guess that was the name of the group that's put it on. And Gateway 1993 at the airport in Los Angeles, LAX, at the LAX Hyatt, and it is a big convention. But you know, Magic the Gathering, the card game, had just been released on August 5th of 1993, and this convention was these ribbons are dated September 4th. So you know, a month after Magic was released, and all I remember, well, one thing I remember is that I remember trucks backing up to the docks in the hotel with cases, literally loaded with cases of those Magic cards, and people were buying like whole hand trucks, like 4 or 5 cases of those cards stacked up on a hand truck you push around. You know, and I remember seeing parents buying them for their kids, and I don't know how much a case was, but man, 5 cases of Magic cards, that must have been pretty expensive. But man, those things were flying out of there. And I remember thinking, who are these Wizards of the Coast guys? I never heard of them. But that's something I'll never forget, and it's probably the biggest the biggest like uproar I've ever seen in any convention over a single product. And I don't know if that was their first convention or not, but being a month after the release, it was certainly one of the first. Anyway, so I remember my wife was real skeptical when I was painting these figures, and I rented 2 tables, 2 long tables. I think they were $50 each or something, so it was $100. Plus we had a couple nights in a hotel room, and my wife was like, she wasn't complaining, but she wasn't really enthusiastic about it. And she had to take, and really I had a heck of a time. I had to get people to help me move my stuff up, lay it out, and my wife had to drive, and I couldn't hardly, man, I was in a lot of pain on painkillers and stuff. But I remember we had the 2 tables, and I had enough guys to fill up the 2 tables. Just painted miniatures, different units for all different types of gaming systems. Just a wide variety of different things. And I remember after the first day, and she'd do a lot of the selling. We just had a little, like a unit there, and it had a little, folded card with what it was and the price. And I remember after the first day, we went back up to the hotel room, and I had a stack of cash like that, and it was over $2,000. And I remember her attitude changed a little bit about about painting after that. But anyway, at that convention, I also entered. Another thing I remember besides the stack of money was pretty cool, and the cases of Magic cards, and I also remember the contest, because I entered the painting contest, and I don't remember what all I entered. I don't think everything I entered won something. I think I entered more than 3 things, but I still got these three ribbons. There's one second place for Old Glory 15mm Napoleonic Austrian 3rd Ulan Regiment. That's this one. And then I got one for a fantasy. Then that was for a historical unit. Then I got second place for a fantasy unit, which was my Citadel 25mm Bugman's Dwarf Rangers. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with those really cool looking classic Games Workshop unit of Bugman's Dwarf Rangers. Then I got first place for a historical single figure, and it was a GHQ Micronaut ship, Napoleonic and French Lotion. And I remember for these things, they gave me like $100 and something worth of like gift coupons. I went to the vendors area, and I bought all kind of stuff. It was great fun. It was really had a lot of fun at that convention. So that was first week in September. Then it wasn't September. The next time was November. The second one I went to, because these other ribbons are dated November 7th, 93. And this was a slightly smaller convention down in Santa Ana, California. And I won, let's see, first place for ancient medieval Renaissance unit. And for medieval knight, I had a medieval knight and crossbow unit. And let's see, I won second place for 1700 to 1899 period historical unit of some 7 Years' War Prussian Grenadiers. And the reason I got second place because I also got first place in the same category for the ship I won first at the other show, the Ocean, the Micronaut, GHQ Micronaut. So I got that, and then it also, the same model also won, actually won Best of Show. And again, I got like $200 worth of gift certificates, and so that was 93. And until I went to, although I went to dozens of conventions after that, I never entered anything again. I wanted to. It would have been unfair. No, I got too busy selling things, and got so many commissions. I never really painted anything for myself. That was the reason, the real reason, but. Until ReaperCon in 2008, and I'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, so the main reason I'm telling you about my convention experience is to let you know that I do have convention experience. So when I talk to you about ReaperCon or comparing it to other conventions, you'll know that I have a little experience, and I know what I'm talking about a little bit. Now, ReaperCon this year is April 18th through the 21st. And that's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But also, they actually have a get-together on the Wednesday night before. So on the 17th, the evening of the 17th, they get together and have a barbecue. And it's hosted by the fellows at Reaper, and it's free. And what's so different about ReaperCon is it's at Reaper Miniatures Factory, hosted by the guys that own Reaper, Dave and Ed Pugh. And it's not like any other convention I've ever been to. It's not the largest. I'd say the largest were HistoriCon and that Gateway 93 I'd been to. One in Tampa was pretty big too. HistoriCon was by far the biggest. Anyway, it's not the largest. There's maybe 300 people there. I don't know, close to that. Maybe a few more. But it doesn't feel like any other convention I've ever been to. There's no, in every other convention I've ever been to, there's people stressed out about getting their games set up, and you'll say something to them, they'll just kind of turn their head and say something to you, and then they'll go back to setting up. Or there's vendors that are, trying to keep track, keep an eye on all their stuff, and then they won't really, don't have the time to talk to you. I'm sure there's, they reach a point at some point where they have time to talk to you, but I'm talking in general. And I know there's relaxed times and slow times in the evenings and stuff, but generally I've never felt as relaxed at any other convention as I have. ReaperCon feels more like a family reunion. I've never seen anybody get upset there, raise their voice, be mad about anything. Everybody's just relaxed, chatting, hanging out. I mean, it's just a great time. Tickets are $30 for 4 days, and you also order a T-shirt. They have themed T-shirts every year, and they're between $15 and $18 depending on the size. From small, medium, large, I believe are $15, and then all the way up to $18 for 4X. But this is one from 2009. You can see it has every other different theme, and so that it says ReaperCon 2009. Then it has the Sophie, which is Reaper's mascot, on the back there, and it says ReaperCon 2009, May 14th through 17th, Denton, Texas, or ReaperCon 09. And the themes change every year. Last year it was pirates. This year's going to be carnival, a carnival theme, like a Mardi Gras almost. They've had Western theme and undead theme, World War II. No, typically, well, let me go over some things they have at ReaperCon. They have and the convention is right in the factory, and usually every other year I'd been there. I've been going since 2008, so I've been 5 times. This year will be my 6th. I mean, you walk in, they just have tables they set up in the open spaces, and they still have all the shelving for all their different figures and box figures and things they had as part of the factory. But last year I guess they had the shelving on wheels, and they pushed everything out of the way, so it's a big, huge open area. And I'll post I'm going to put a couple pictures at the end of this video so you can see what it looked like inside. But so there was plenty of room to move around, and I mean, it made a big difference. Anyway, one of the things they have, you can trade in your metal. Now, if it doesn't have lead in it, you just bring your bag of metal in, you set it down. If you go on their website and get on their forum, they tell you all the different manufacturers that they take, 1-for-1 exchange for weight based on the fact that it doesn't have any lead, or they give you sometimes. I've seen them give like 1 for 2 if it has some lead in it, or I've even seen them say. One time when I went cash handed some in to get weighed, they just said, "Oh, it doesn't matter. You don't have to separate. Just put it all right here." So I guess it just depends on what they're taking the time. But basically, safe thing is to take your non-lead miniatures and trade it 1-for-1. They weigh it. They give you a little receipt card, and you can wander around. You can wander around the bins in their factory and pick any figures that they make, and just trade them 1-for-1. I mean, it's a great deal. If the bin for that figure is empty, they'll pull the mold for you, and they'll make them for you. They just don't turn it in your metal. So I remember, I think the second year I was there, I cast my own figures too with Prince August molds, and I made some old molds as well. But I had some ingots, some tin ingots I got from Name Metals that I was using to make my own figures. And I took 3 or 4 of them in, and they were probably a couple pounds a piece. And I remember I don't remember if it was Ed or Dave Pugh I asked, but I said, "Hey, are these okay to trade for figures?" And he looked at them and said, "Oh, that's 10 from Nate." He said, "Yeah, sure." And he said, "Just tell the girl." And at the time, that tin was selling for $7 a pound. So for $56 worth of tin, which was, your average Reaper 28mm figure, or what they call heroic scale, is probably about $5. So I could have got, 11 or 12 figures maybe for 56, for $56. So I had $56 worth of tin I traded in, and instead of getting, the retail version of the equivalent, which would have been 11 figures basically, I got 8 pounds of figures, which is 250 figures, maybe 240 figures. So it was pretty cool. And I've done that. I do that every year, because you're going to get figures you don't want anymore. You decide you don't want to paint, or when you clean the figures, you have the extra leftover metal. Now I just keep them in a bin. I keep them in a bin down here. That says Reaper on it. And that's what I probably got about 3 or 4 pounds right there. And that's what I cash in. So that's open from you know, from about 9:30 in the morning or so to 5:30 or 6 or 7 every day. And there's a couple of girls back there usually, and they, you just walk in, you walk past them, you go back into the area where all the bins are, pick what you want. They even have their discontinued. The stuff they don't even have their magazines, or they don't even advertise anymore. They're out of production stuff. They have in these big like toolboxes. You can go through there and pick out all the stuff you've never even seen before, like dwarf cannons and things like that. Food dogs. Or they also have binders that you can look through that have everything they've ever made in them. So pretty neat. Other things you can do there. That's my favorite thing. But other things you can do. They have painting areas. You can just sit and talk to other people, and people bring in their whole painting setup. They bring in their lights and their little visor things, and they have their own little area. And Reaper has these long tables set up that have a lot of them have lights at them already. But they have like extension cords and outlets all along each table where you can just pull up a chair and plug in, and people will open up their. Some people have pretty elaborate traveling setups that they bring in setups. Pretty neat, and a lot of husband and wife teams as well. So it's neat just to sit there and paint and talk to folks and just relax for a few days. And that's what it is. It's just people. It's people relaxing. Plenty of games you can play. There's guys. They play a host of different games. There's always a themed game based on the theme for that year too that the Reaper runs. Or you can bring your own games. There's a couple of vendors that come and set up little small areas. But there's no end to games. You sign up for games and play them. You can play them more than once if you want to. There's tournaments, different tournaments you can be in. I play in the Warlord tournament every year. The local guy that owns the Sonic down the street, he comes and they set up a Sonic inside the factory there. Sonic Mike. So you can always you never have to leave. You get a hotel a couple miles away. You ride in with somebody else, and so you hit your ride in and stay there all day. You can eat and do whatever you want to, and then you catch a ride back to your hotel. There's no reason to have to come and go at all. There's no reason to have a rental car really, and I'll get to more of that in a minute. Well, I'll go ahead and talk about it now. Well, what you see on their forum, if you go to their forum on the Reaper forum, the first topic block is Reaper discussions, and the last entry under Reaper discussion is ReaperCon, and you can go on there and people say if they're coming or not. They talk about what's the T-shirt going to look like, what's the Sophie going to look like, because every year Sophia. So there's a specific miniature made for that year for their ReaperCon Sophie, and it's a limited edition. They usually have other limited edition figures too. But anyway, people talk about when they're going to be there, and they ask if they can get a ride from the airport, and there's always people volunteering. Heck, I'll even want to come contact me. I can even pick folks up. The airport's not that far away from Reaper. And I'll show you on the map in a minute where everything's laid out at, how everything's laid out. But there's a couple hotels that people usually stay in right around that area, and I think that from rumors that I've heard, I live right here, so I don't have to do that. I just live about 10 minutes away, but I've heard some pretty wild things about what those folks do. When they get back to the hotel, and it's something I might have participated in my younger days, but not anymore. Okay, they have an auction the last day on Sunday. They have an auction. Reaper puts up a whole bunch of stuff, and what you do when you go to classes, or when you playing games or enter contests, that you get Reaper bucks, depending on how you do. And people just amass these Reaper bucks, and at the auction, that's the only thing you can use to win different things. You can win. I got a clock up here. I won mugs, poster. They're big, like vinyl posters of different things. Shirts, games, figures. They got one thing where you can design your own miniature, and Reaper will make it for you. You work with their they're sculpting design folks, and then you can actually design your own miniature that they'll produce. So it's pretty neat too. You get factory tours where Brian Stilts walks around. I think he's the production manager. I think that's his official title. I'm not sure. But he'll walk you around. He'll take you through the whole from bare metal, from like pouring the molds all the way to packaging and shipping and everything. They show you how the mold making and everything they do. Then they have a painting contest too for different categories. Again, you can go on their website and look under the painting contest each year and look at the entries and the categories and things. But it's pretty big deal. It's the world-class type painters we're talking about here that win those things. And they award medals, certificates, and Sophies too. Sophie statues. See this one right here. This guy that one right there. I won the first year I went. What happened? I painted up some Highlanders I was just going to use to play in the Warlord tournament with, and some people were saying, "Man, you should enter those in the paint contest." I was like, "Ah, no, I don't need, I don't want to do that." And finally, they're like, "Man, come on, enter them in the army, best paint army." So what I did, I just went and got a cutting board from home, like a wooden cutting board, and just picked, I don't know, a dozen or so of the figures out of the army, and just blue tacked them on the cutting board, and got third place. I remember Ann Forster saying, if you would have put a little more thought into your into your the way your presentation, you would have finished higher. I was kind of laughed, yeah, well, that's cool. So anyway, I got my Sophie, for Painted Army. They're for 2008, and they have them gold, silver, and bronze. Okay, so when you first get there, and they're open every day from about 9 in the morning. They open up about 8:30. I think everything gets the first scheduled things are at 9, and it lasts till I don't know when. I don't even know if they have. I think it's just when Brian and the other fellows just collapse, and I don't know if they're up until 11. They stay there till 11 at night or 10 at night, because I've stayed there pretty late sometimes. There's plenty of people still going strong. So I don't know what. They stay open late every day. You're not gonna get run out of there. That's for darn sure. Sit there at the Reaper, and you walk in the front door. You tell them your name, and they give you a bag, like a book bag, and it has a pouch that you wear around your neck with a zipper and a little window, and you get a name card, and then your bag has a water bottle and limited edition figures. They have the limited edition Sophie figures in there, several bottles of paint, some magazines. The grab bag alone is worth the $30 entry fee. Not kidding you, it really is. So anyway, so they get the bag. Hey, welcome, good to see you again. Blah blah blah. You walk in. If you got a T-shirt, they go ahead and give you your T-shirt there too. Or I don't know. It might even already be in your bag. I think it's already in your bag if you had a T-shirt. If you bought a T-shirt, and then after that, man, you can just sit there and read, or you can just set up your painting station, or you go find people, go look at the gaming schedule, or do whatever you want to. It's just laid back, relaxed 4 days after that. Another big thing they do that's different from, I know they do it at other convention, Gen Con things now, the other big conventions, but again, here it's more relaxed than I've ever seen, is the classes. And they're generally, I think, an hour long, and they cost $20. But the guys at Reaper, certainly the $30 entry fee, of course they're not having to pay for a facility to hold it in, but because the factories, but the $30 fee and then the $20 per class, they're paying these artists to come in, to fly in and putting them up there and things, so, and then to hold the classes. So they're just defraying a little bit of that cost. But for $20 an hour, you're talking about getting to sit there next to Werner Klonk and watch him sculpt, or have him teach you how to sculpt right there, sitting a foot away. And the classes are usually about 6 or 8 people. It's not like a big, huge auditorium or something, you know. It's 6 or 8 people around a small table in a little meeting room, and you're sitting there. And they go over stuff, and you ask them. You know, sometimes they say, "Let me show you this," and then ask questions, or you just butt in any time. 2 things I remember that stand out is I took Julie Guthrie's class on sculpting faces. And I remember, and I know, you know, if you put 10,000 hours in doing anything, you're pretty much an expert. But still, it's amazing. It's amazing to watch. You know, she had just a little round ball of, you know, clay or, you know, green stuff or whatever it was, modeling putty, and she just literally. She just went doot 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 doot. Not 15 seconds, and it was a whole head, face, ears, and everything. You know, she just pushed in, made the nose look perfect, and doot doot for the mouth, doot 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 for the ears, and held it up and passed it around. I was like, holy crap! Another thing I remember in Werner Klock's, he would start you off with a cork and wire, and you would actually sculpt like a pair of legs up to a torso. And he'd show you just how to lay out. The class I took was, you know, like how to animate a figure, and but I remember there was we had a little time left where we went over. He just said, you know, it's no big hurry. I don't have another class, you know, right after this. So we went over, and he was, you know, I asked him, man, you know, can you show me how you do belt buckles? Because the guy sculpts beautifully, you know. When he in a belt buckle, I didn't know if he, you know, sculpted then just made a square and you know, put the buckle over the belt, or how, you know, he made the belt in sections, or how, you know, to have the, you know, the excess, the tongue coming through the other side of the buckle and things. But man, he grabbed that little ball, that little figure he had been sculpting, and he just put a line of putty on there, and again it was just do 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 do, you know, 10-15 seconds, and it was a perfect belt. It even was kind of curved on the top of mine where it was worn, you know. The buckle, and even the little, you know, the little holes for the where in the belt running along, and I was just, wow. So I mean, you know, you get to sit there and learn from a world-class painter or sculptor, and it's just really great. Here's what they have this year's schedules: airbrushing, base work, bones, which is their new figure line, which is kind of a plasticky, resiny material. They have class, I think Brian Stilts is scheduled to teach on converting and working with the new material that people might not be so familiar with. Color theory, non-metallic metals, painting earth and fire, painting flesh, faces, and hair. Or those flesh and faces is one, hair is a total separate class. Photography, painting faces and eyes, painting sheer cloth. OSL or other source lighting, lighting and reflections. How to prep a figure, working with Dremels, sculpting anatomy, faces, how to do concept art, sculpting with Fimo, sculpting tools, and then painting techniques, basics, blending, glazing, metallics. Ann Forrester, who is the staff painter for Reaper, is teaching other classes as well, but she's teaching them on brush strokes, how to get your paint to flow, which she's a master at with your brush. You know, paint from one end to the other and pull the paint across the surface so you don't get brush strokes. You know, I like brush strokes. My fundamentals: painting black and white, painting freehand, monochrome, textures, and weathering. Some of the teachers are. This is not all of them. This is just a few of the instructors that are going to be there. Julie Guthrie and Bob Ridolfi, Ann Forrester, John Bonnet, Patrick Keith, Gene Van Horn, Bobby Jackson, Derek Schubert, and Jason Wiebe. I remember Bobby Jackson. I remember he's my favorite. I just love the way he does armor. The textures he does on cloth are just so beautiful and flowing and smooth. And my Highlander army that I mentioned I'd won the Sophie for, he had sculpted the Highlander figures. And I remember I was sitting there talking to a friend of mine, and we were saying, man, you know, I wonder if Bobby Jackson's going to be here, man. He's really my favorite sculptor. I'd love to meet the guy. You know, my friend was like, oh yeah, well, you know what? And I just kept talking. He said, well, he's standing right behind you. And yeah, there he was. So he's been there. I remember getting to talk to him several times. Got to talk to him last year. And I actually had him sign some of my, a couple of packages of figures I had. And I said, hey Bob, man, I know this might sound really stupid, but I really have painted like hundreds of your figures. Sign this for me, dude. So he's like, okay, man. So anyway, I got that little memento for my favorite sculptor. All right, I'm going to show you now where the factory is located at. So move the camera here. Okay, here's Reaper's website. I've clicked on conventions right here, and it brings up this page. We can just look at the convention information, and right here you just click how many tickets you want. So you select one, then it asks you if you want a shirt, and you just put, click on the size and then click the ticket, and you just give them your information and away you go. Forum here, you click on forum, then here under general discussion, if you scroll down right here to ReaperCon, and you can see there's already folks talking about here we come. There's over 8 pages of entries for that. What classes are going to be held, hotel information, magic players, gaming, what games are going to be there, different questions, how to safely transport your miniatures, what vendors are going to be there. Like I said, you can go in here and you can ask, hey, can somebody give me a ride a certain time of day? My plane's going to be arriving. I guarantee you'll get a ride. People come in here, they can't afford the hotel, or it's going to push them a little. They put them up in their houses. I've seen them do that too. So don't let that hold you back from at least asking about it. Okay, if you go to a Google map here, of course it's in Denton. It's really in a little. It's right at the edge of Denton, but the area is more closely identified with a little town called Corinth, north of Dallas. Dallas is here. So if we just zoom in on Dallas, here's Dallas, Fort Worth. The 2 big cities between Dallas and Fort Worth are Arlington and Irving. The international airport's right here, Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Then there's 2 lakes above Dallas. There's Lake Grapevine and Lake Louisville. So again, here's Dallas. So here's the international airport, and show you how close it is. ReaperCon is actually that little white square right there at the north end of those woods. That's the where the facility's at. So here's the international airport. There's ReaperCon. I actually live right here on Lake Louisville. So you can see I'm about 10 minutes away. So anyway, if we scroll in again, here's their facility. It actually says Reaper Miniatures right there. It's this building right here. This building. So it's right there. Okay, guys, just comment or email me if you have any other questions. I don't know if I'm sure I've left some stuff out that you'd be interested in, or like I said, you go to the Reaper's forum there, and people will be glad to help you out. This is the nicest folks you're ever going to meet. Glad I finally got, after 20 years, I got a chance to show off my ribbons. So I think it's y'all are the first people I've ever showed these off to. They've been sitting around in drawers and things all these years. Can't believe I even held on to them, actually. Learned not to brag a long time ago. My dad's, who's still around, is my hero, and I think that's a good thing for dads to be for their sons. He taught me some some pretty important lessons. I remember he told me, you know, of course, never to put your hand on a woman in anger. Of course, I never even thought of doing that because he said he'd personally show up and, you know, rearrange me. Taught me never to get in a fight. You can't brag about it later. In other words, don't ever get in a fight with somebody smaller than you or somebody, you know, that can't defend themselves. So that was always good advice. And he told me, you know, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said. Which is, if you think, that's a classic, I know, but it's something I've always remembered too. If you tell the truth, or if you don't lie, you don't have to remember what you said. And then he never told me not to brag, because I never have bragged. Never have been a braggart or boastful at all. But he never actually came out and gave me a lesson about it. But I remember he taught me a lesson one time. I remember one time playing baseball, I hit a home run. And it won the game. It actually won a championship game. And again, like I said, not bragging, just to make the point here. I was all, pretty excited. And after the game, he didn't, he said good game and congratulations, but he didn't say nothing about the home run. And the reason, it was a shot dead center field, man. It was a rocket. Finally, I couldn't stand it no more. I said, "What'd you think of that home run?" And he said, "Oh, you hit a home run?" He said, "I must have been up getting a hot dog. When was that?" That's nothing else had to be said, because I knew he saw it. So anyway, but hey, thanks for looking at my Sophie and my ribbons. All right, guys, I hope this kept a little y'all company for a while and gave a little information about ReaperCon. Certainly something you don't want to miss. So thanks for watching. Keep painting, keep your positive attitudes, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.